David, you can't live in the basement forever, my mother sighed, setting down her fork at our weekly family dinner. You're 32 years old. When are you going to get a real job? I pushed the mashed potatoes around my plate, avoiding her eyes. Across the table, my sister Amanda smirked. She was wearing a new designer blazer, probably bought with her latest bonus as a senior investment banker. Leave him alone, Mom, she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. Not everyone can be successful. Someone has to deliver our packages and fix our computers. My name is David Mitchell, and for the past 7 years, my family had watched me cycle through a series of what they called dead-end jobs. It's support, delivery driving, handyman work. What they didn't know was that each of those jobs was carefully chosen to help me build something they couldn't imagine. At least fix up the basement, my father chimed in, not looking up from his phone. It looks like some kind of command center with all those computers. What are you doing down there anyway, playing video games? If he had bothered to really look at those computers, he might have noticed they were high-end servers running complex algorithms. If he had paid attention to the delivery driving I did, he might have wondered why I chose such specific routes through industrial areas. If anyone had actually asked about my IT support work, they might have realized I was selectively building relationships with key players in the tech industry. But they never asked. They were too busy being embarrassed by their basement-dwelling son. I'm working on some projects, I said quietly, the same answer I'd given for years. Projects, Amanda snorted. Like that ridiculous idea you tried to pitch to my firm 3 years ago. What was it? Some kind of AI for supply chain management? I remembered that day clearly. I had thought, naively, that my sister might actually help. Instead, she had laughed me out of her office, telling me to get realistic and apply for an entry-level position like everyone else. What Amanda didn't know was that her rejection had been a blessing. It had taught me an important lesson. The people closest to you are often the least likely to see your potential. After dinner, I returned to my command center in the basement. The space that my family mocked was actually the nerve center of what would soon become one of the most revolutionary logistics companies in the world. Those odd jobs they ridiculed, each one had been strategically chosen to understand different aspects of the supply chain industry. Delivery driving had shown me inefficiencies in last-mile logistics. Its support had given me access to see how major companies handled their inventory. Handyman work at warehouses had let me observe industrial operations up close. All of it fed into NEXUS, the AI-driven logistics platform I had been building in secret. The same platform that major venture capital firms were now quietly fighting to invest in, though they knew me only by my company's name, Mitchell Dynamics. My laptop pinged with a new email from Catherine Santos, the lead partner at Quantum Ventures. David, final term sheet attached. $50 million for 8% equity values the company at $625 million pre-money. Ready to move forward when you are. Still hoping to meet in person soon. I smiled, thinking of my sister's corner office at her investment bank. Catherine's firm managed 100 times more capital, and she had no idea she was dealing with the basement dweller her colleague had laughed at. Another message popped up, this one from Marcus Webb, my chief technology officer and the only person who knew the full truth about my situation. Daily active users hit 100,000. Major retailers starting to notice the efficiency gains. When are you going to tell your family? I typed back, soon. Everything needs to be perfect first. Perfect meant the upcoming public offering we had been quietly preparing for. Perfect meant proving beyond any doubt that the waste of potential my family saw was actually building something revolutionary. My phone buzzed, Mom texting to remind me about tomorrow's dinner. Another weekly ritual of subtle jabs and disappointed looks. 7 years of them telling me to grow up, get a real job, be more like Amanda. I glanced at the terminal showing NEXUS's current metrics. 100,000 plus active users, $50 million annual recurring revenue, 98.7% customer retention. Operations in 12 countries, all built from a basement, funded initially by dead-end jobs and credit cards, grown through careful strategy and deliberate anonymity. The company's PR team had crafted a careful mystique around the founder, releasing no photos, using only my first initial in communications. A notification flashed on my screen. Another major retailer signing up for a pilot program. They had no idea their potential salvation was being run from a suburban basement by someone whose family thought he was a failure. I pulled up the IPO documentation we've been preparing. The numbers were staggering. Projected valuation between $1.08 and $2.2 billion. My ownership stake, carefully preserved through each funding round, would be worth nearly $1 billion. My father's words from dinner echoed in my head. When are you going to do something with your life? Soon, Dad, very soon. Upstairs, I heard Amanda's designer heels clicking across the floor as she prepared to leave. She had brought over brochures for coding boot camps, her latest attempt to help me find direction. If she had ever actually looked at the code running on my screens, she would have seen one of the most sophisticated AI systems ever developed for logistics. But she saw what she wanted to see, a loser brother who needed saving. I turned back to my work, reviewing the final details for tomorrow's major announcement. After 7 years of building in secret, everything was about to change. My phone buzzed again. A text from Marcus. CNBC confirmed. They want to run the story during prime time tomorrow. You ready for this? I looked around at my basement command center, thinking of all the nights I'd spent here while my family slept above, convinced I was wasting my life. Every dismissive comment, every condescending suggestion, every pitying look had only fueled my determination. Ready, I typed back. Time to rewrite the family narrative. Tomorrow, the carefully constructed wall between my two lives would come down. Tomorrow they would learn that their basement-dwelling disappointment had built an empire right under their noses. But tonight, I had work to do, because that's what they never understood. Success doesn't announce itself until it's inevitable. Sometimes the biggest empires are built in the quietest places by the people everyone else has written off. I turned back to my screens, smiling as I heard Amanda's car pull away. In less than 24 hours, she would be seeing my name scroll across the same financial news channels she watched religiously. And finally, after 7 years of silence, I would have something to say at family dinner. The morning everything changed, I woke up early in my basement apartment and dressed differently than usual. Instead of my typical worn jeans and t-shirt, I put on a tailored charcoal suit that cost more than Amanda's monthly mortgage payment. The same suit I had quietly delivered to a P.O. box, away from my family's prying eyes. At 9 a.m. sharp, my phone lit up with a message from Catherine at Quantum Ventures. Everything's set. CNBC running the story at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You ready to become a billionaire? I glanced at my watch. In less than 2 hours, my family's perception of their basement-dwelling failure would be shattered forever. Upstairs, I could hear my mother in the kitchen, probably shaking her head at the fact that I still wasn't up and working, like a responsible adult. If she only knew I'd been up since 5 a.m., finalizing details for one of the biggest tech IPO announcements of the year. My phone buzzed again. Marcus this time. Trading floor is buzzing with rumors. Your sister's bank just issued a strong buy recommendation for our IPO. She has no idea she just endorsed her brother's company. I smiled at the irony. Amanda had spent years telling me I didn't understand business or finance. Now her firm was falling over itself to get a piece of what I built. At 10:15 a.m., I made my way upstairs. Mom was indeed in the kitchen, sorting through bills. Finally up. She asked without looking up. There's a job fair at the community college today. I left a flyer on the counter. Thanks, Mom, I said quietly. But I have some meetings today. She sighed that familiar sigh. More computer repair jobs? Something like that. I poured a cup of coffee and settled at the kitchen table, positioning my tablet so I could see the CNBC feed while pretending to read the newspaper. Mom puttered around, probably wondering why I was dressed in a suit for computer repair. At 10:29 a.m., my phone started buzzing continuously. Messages from investors, board members, and reporters all counting down to the announcement. I silenced it just as the CNBC anchor appeared on screen. Breaking news in the tech sector, the anchor began. In what's being called the stealth success story of the year, logistics AI company Mitchell Dynamics has filed for an initial public offering, with an estimated valuation of $2 billion. I heard my mother's coffee cup clatter against the counter. Mitchell Dynamics, she whispered. Like our Mitchell? Led by founder and CEO David Mitchell, who developed the revolutionary NEXUS platform. The anchor continued as my photo appeared on screen, A professional headshot taken weeks ago in secret. Mom's face went pale. She gripped the counter for support, staring at the TV in disbelief. David? She barely whispered. Is that you? I stood up, straightening my suit jacket. Yes, Mom, that's me. But you've been in the basement, doing odd jobs. I've been building a company, I corrected gently. Those odd jobs were research. Every delivery route, every aid repair, every warehouse visit. All of it helped me understand the problems I was solving. Her legs seemed to give out, and she sank into a chair. On a TV, the anchor was still talking. Revolutionary AI-driven logistics system already used by major retailers across 12 countries. My phone buzzed again. Amanda this time. I put it on speaker. David. She practically screamed. Why is your face on every screen in the trading floor? What's going on? Remember that ridiculous AI logistics idea you laughed at 3 years ago? I asked calmly, the one you said would never work. Silence on the other end. Your firm just issued a strong buy recommendation for it. I continued, though I suppose you weren't copied on that memo. I heard commotion in the background of her call. Probably the trading floor going crazy as the stock price was announced. This is impossible, she breathed. You live in Mom's basement. Not for much longer, I replied. Though it was an excellent place to build a billion-dollar company, no one looks too closely at the failure in the basement. Mom was still staring at the TV, where they were now showing graphics of 90x US's growth metrics. All those computers downstairs, she murmured. Servers, I corrected. Running one of the most advanced AI systems in the logistics industry. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time. Son, we need to talk. I'm coming home early. The next hour was surreal. Amanda arrived first, still in her trading floor outfit, mascara smeared from what looked like tears. Why didn't you tell me? She demanded. I could have helped. Like you helped when I brought you the initial idea? I asked quietly, when you told me to get realistic and apply for an entry-level position. She flinched. I didn't know. No one knew, I said. That was the point. You all saw what you expected to see. A failure, a disappointment, someone who couldn't get his life together. None of you ever actually asked what I was building. Dad burst in next, his tie askew. David, my office is going crazy. My own son. Why didn't you say anything? I turned to face him directly. Would you have believed me? Or would you have tried to help by telling me to be more practical, get a real job, be more like Amanda? The silence that followed was deafening. My tablet pinged with an update. Mitchell Dynamics stock was up 200% in pre-market trading. My personal net worth had just crossed $1.5 billion. 7 years, I said into the silence. 7 years of lectures at dinner. 7 years of being the family embarrassment. 7 years of you all telling me to get my life together. Did none of you ever wonder why I didn't seem worried? Mom was still clutching her coffee cup, staring at the financial channels where my face kept appearing alongside words like tech visionary and revolutionary platform. But the delivery driving, the computer repairs, she stammered. Market research, I explained. Every delivery route showed me problems in logistics systems. Every computer repair job gave me access to see how companies handled inventory. I saw the inefficiencies, the gaps, the opportunities everyone else missed. Amanda had sunk onto the couch, her designer outfit wrinkled. The banking software we use, the new logistics system, that's yours. I nodded. Your firm pays us $2 million a year for it. I believe you called it revolutionary in last month's team meeting. She put her head in her hands. Oh God. My phone buzzed again. Catherine from Quantum Ventures. Media wants a statement from the family. Your call on how to handle it. I looked at my shell-shocked family, my mother still gripping her coffee cup, my father looking like his world had turned upside down, Amanda seemingly aging years in minutes. Take your time processing this, I said, gathering my tablet. I have a company to run. Oh, and Mom, you can keep the job fair flyer. I'm good. As I walked toward the door, Dad finally found his voice. Son, wait. I turned back. Yes. We were wrong, he said simply. So very wrong. Yes, I agreed. You were. And now everyone knows it. I stepped out into the sunlight, my phone already buzzing with more congratulations and media requests. Behind me, through the window, I could see my family frozen in place, watching financial channels announce their basement-dwelling disappointment as the next tech billionaire. Sometimes success is the best revenge, but sometimes success is just the beginning of a much bigger story. 6 months after the day my family discovered their basement-dwelling disappointment was actually a tech billionaire, I sat in my new office on the top floor of the Mitchell Dynamics headquarters in downtown Seattle. The wall of windows offered a stunning view of the city skyline, a far cry from my basement command center, though I sometimes miss the quiet focus of that underground space. The morning's Wall Street Journal lay open on my desk. Mitchell Dynamics revolutionizes global logistics, stock up 400% since IPO. Below the headline was a photo of me in this very office, looking nothing like the failure my family had bemoaned for 7 years. My phone buzzed. Amanda, for the third time this week. Lunch today. Please? We need to talk. I've been avoiding these conversations, focusing instead on running my company. The transition from secret genius to public figure had been challenging enough without dealing with family dynamics. But perhaps it was time. Fine. I texted back. 1 p.m. My office. At precisely 1 p.m., Amanda stepped out of my private elevator, looking uncomfortable in a way I'd never seen before. Gone was the smug confidence she'd always worn like armor. Her designer clothes, once a symbol of her superiority, now seemed like an attempt to belong in a world where her little brother was worth more than every partner in her firm combined. Nice office, she said, trying for casual and failing. Different from the basement. The basement served its purpose, I replied, gesturing to one of the leather chairs facing my desk. Though I doubt you're here to discuss my real estate choices. She sat, fidgeting with her watch, a nervous habit I'd never seen in her before. David, I've been trying to find a way to apologize. For which part? I asked calmly. Laughing me out of your office? The years of condescension. The coding bootcamp brochures. She flinched. All of it. I was so sure I knew better, that my path was the only path to success. I never imagined. That's the problem, I interrupted. None of you imagined. None of you even tried to understand what I was building. You saw what you expected to see. The thing is, she continued, my firm is desperate to get me to arrange a meeting with you. They want to handle Mitchell Dynamics' investment banking needs. The same people who wouldn't give you 5 minutes 3 years ago now spend hours strategizing how to get your attention. I couldn't help but smile at the irony. And how does that make you feel, Amanda? Having to court your basement-dwelling brother's business? She looked down at her hands. Humbled. Embarrassed. But mostly sad that I missed the chance to be part of something amazing because I was too arrogant to see it. A notification popped up on my screen. Our eye had just landed another major client, a Fortune 500 retailer. Their CEO had probably spent more time researching my background than my own family ever had. You know what the hardest part was? I asked, turning back to Amanda. Not the long nights coding, not the stress of building something revolutionary. It was sitting at those family dinners, week after week, being treated like a cautionary tale when I knew what I was creating. Why did you tell us? She whispered. Would you have believed me? Or would you have tried to fix my life, interfere with my plans, insist I do things the right way like you? She had no answer for that. My phone buzzed. Mom this time. Sunday dinner? Please come. Dad's finally ready to talk. I showed the message to Amanda. They still don't get it, do they? They think everything can go back to normal, just with their formerly disappointing son now being successful. They're trying, Amanda said softly. We all are. It's just you've completely upended everything we thought we knew. About you, about success. About everything. I stood and walked to the windows, looking out at the city where my company was transforming how business worked. You know what success taught me? That the people who are quickest to judge are often the ones who understand the least. Just then, Marcus knocked and entered with a tablet. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. The Wilson contract just came through. It's bigger than we expected. I glanced at the numbers and smiled. Another billion-dollar deal, larger than Amanda's entire investment bank would see this year. Thank you, Marcus, I said. Oh, and this is my sister Amanda. She used to tell me to get realistic about my career goals. Marcus, who knew the whole story, tried to hide his smirk. Interesting. I guess building a revolutionary AI platform wasn't realistic enough. Amanda had the grace to blush. After Marcus left, I turned back to my sister. Here's the thing about success, Amanda. It doesn't erase the past. Those 7 years of condescension, of being treated like a failure, they happened. The fact that I'm now a billionaire doesn't change how you all made me feel. I know, she said quietly, but can we try to build something new? A real relationship without the judgment? I considered her words. That depends. Are you here as a sister trying to reconnect, or as an investment banker trying to land a client? A sister, she said firmly. Though I won't pretend my firm isn't desperate to work with you. But that's not why I'm here. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time. Son, I sold my company today. The one I always wanted you to join, remember. Funny thing is, the buyers are implementing your logistics system. My life's work is being transformed by the son I thought was wasting his potential. I showed the message to Amanda. See what I mean? Everything's different now, but they're still seeing it through the lens of their own expectations and failures. Then help us see it differently, she pleaded. Help us understand. I sat back down at my desk, thinking of all the family dinners, all the disappointed looks, all the well-meaning but condescending advice. Here's what's going to happen, I said finally. I'm coming to Sunday dinner, but not to pretend everything's fine, not to be the successful son they can finally brag about. I'm coming to tell the whole story, every detail of what I built while you all thought I was failing. And you're all going to listen. Amanda nodded. That's fair. And one more thing, I added. Next week, I'm giving a speech at MIT about entrepreneurship and innovation. You're all invited. I think it's time you understood exactly what was happening in that basement. That Sunday, I walked into my parents' house wearing the same suit I'd worn the day of the IPO announcement. Mom had prepared all my favorite foods, a transparent attempt at reconciliation. Dad stood awkwardly by the fireplace, next to a framed Wall Street Journal article about Mitchell Dynamics. We're proud of you, son, he said stiffly. Now you are, I replied. But this isn't about pride, Dad. It's about understanding. Over dinner, I told them everything. The real purpose of each dead-end job. The strategic relationships I built. The careful development of NEXUS. With each revelation, their expressions shifted from pride to shame as they realized how completely they had misjudged me. All those times we pushed you to get a real job. Mom said, tears in her eyes, you were actually building something revolutionary. The basement wasn't my failure, I explained. It was my incubator. Every time you looked down on me, it just proved I was right to keep it secret. Amanda, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke up. How did we fix this? How did we become a real family again? I looked around the table at their expectant faces. We start by acknowledging that success doesn't always look like what you expect. And we remember that judgment without understanding is just prejudice with a familiar face. 1 year after the IPO, I stood on stage at MIT, delivering that promised speech about innovation and entrepreneurship. My family sat in the front row, finally hearing the full story of what their basement failure had built. Success isn't about meeting others' expectations, I told the packed auditorium. Sometimes it's about having the courage to disappoint the right people for the right reasons. Looking at my family, I saw something I'd never seen before. Not pride, not shame, but understanding. They finally saw me not as the failure who made good, but as the visionary who had been there all along. After the speech, Dad approached me with tears in his eyes. I spent years trying to make you follow my path, he said. I never imagined you were blazing a trail I couldn't even see. That's the thing about innovation, Dad, I replied. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't follow the expected path. It just changes everything, usually from the most unexpected places, like a basement everyone looked down on. Today, Mitchell Dynamics continues to transform global logistics, and I still keep a small desk in that basement, a reminder that greatness can grow anywhere, even in the spaces others dismiss. As for my family, we're building something new, based not on expectations or appearances, but on understanding and respect. Sometimes the biggest innovations aren't in technology, but in how we see each other. And every now and then, when I hear someone talk about overnight success or lucky breaks, I think about those 7 years in the basement being judged by the people who should have believed in me most. Success wasn't the revenge, understanding was.